Episode 7, Ash Wednesday.
私は全ての競技者の名において真のスポーツマン精神を持って大会に参加することを誓います。選手代表小野隆。
Allow me to translate. I promise that we will take part in these Olympic Games in the true spirit of sportsmanship. This is the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games held in Tokyo, but not the ones held this year. These are from the first Tokyo Olympics, held in 1964. The final runner in the Olympic torch relay has just entered the stadium. All lean muscle, all in white, he runs with torch in hand and a thin line of smoke trailing behind. And with all eyes on him, he begins the long, careful jog up the endless stairs to reach the Olympic cauldron. The runner is Sakai Yoshinori. Sakai was born in Hiroshima 19 years earlier, on the very day that the United States dropped a bomb on the city. As approximately 144,000 civilians died, Sakai Yoshinori was born, and he survived. It is a long journey to the top, but thrilling when he gets there and lights the cauldron. Nothing more was made of Hiroshima or Nagasaki in those ceremonies. But despite how unassuming a memorial it is, it's pretty powerful to watch. Maybe when the loss is so big, the collective trauma so thick, only simplicity can cut through it. Moments after Sakai Yoshinori lights the cauldron, 8,000 pigeons are released into the stadium. They do not cooperate with the magnitude of the moment, swooping down on the athletes covering their heads, the pigeons terrorizing the spectators in the stands. Nothing, not even the solemnity of memorial, is a match for the freakish unpredictability of 8,000 rats with wings. A not-so-subtle reminder. Memorials live in the present. No matter how we choose to remember, how deep into the past we go, the meaning we make of it is always shaped by today. From Pineapple Street Studios, Amazon Music, and Wondery, this is the conclusion of 9/12.
My name is Dakota Sawyer, and I run the Brunswick 9/11 Never Forget Committee.
Dakota Sawyer has been working for months now to get a 9/11 memorial built in his hometown of Brunswick, Ohio, in time for the 20th anniversary.
We have 5 board members that sit on the board. I chair the board.
And where were you on 9/11?
Not even born.
Why is a junior in high school so committed to getting a 9/11 memorial built is oddly not the first question he gets from his neighbors in Brunswick. The first question he gets is this.
Well, Medina already has a memorial. Why should Brunswick have one?
Medina is another town a few miles down the road.
Well, we are the largest city in the county. We have the largest population in Ohio. Not in Ohio. Largest population in the county. We have the largest school district. We're an independent city from Medina. Whatever Medina does, that's Medina.
And this is Brunswick. And Dakota thinks Brunswick should have a memorial too. Unfortunately, as far as the memorial game in northern Ohio goes, the one in Medina at 300 West Reagan Parkway, it really is the one to beat. They've got an actual piece of steel beam from the fallen towers. It was part of an old Port Authority program, so the states and localities could build their own memorials. So if Brunswick is going to top Medina, they got to think big.
It's going to be like a mini park. This is how we envision this. There's going to be a gazebo, all of that. So basically a mini park. You can walk to 3 different monuments.
Each attack, Shanksville, D.C., New York, each one gets a smaller section of the whole. The New York one will be 2 30-foot granite slabs, like 2 mini twin towers.
And then in the middle of all of this, there will be a bronze statue, one of a firefighter, one of a police officer, and it's going to look like they're running into the towers.
That's intense. Like, that's a lot. There's a lot of elements to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of elements to this memorial. That's why we have a budget for $200,000 to raise.
$200,000 is a whole lot of money, especially during a pandemic when people don't have a lot of extra cash to part with. So Dakota wanted to be creative, innovative, to really give people some bang for their buck, make their donation worthwhile. And then he had this idea.
They did the Jerry Lewis Telethon every year, and it was a huge success. And we kind of figured if we could do something, might as well do a telethon.
Welcome to the first ever 9/11 telethon to raise money for the Brunswick 9/11 Memorial. Now, we are raising money to build a beautiful 9/11 memorial right here in Brunswick.
A live fundraising telethon, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Roku, Amazon, everywhere.
We did it in the Catholic church that I go to, St. Ambrose Parish. We used the school's gymnasium.
This 9/11 memorial in this great city.
They have 3 different cameras, they have music, they have a number flashing on screen to call now and donate. They have someone managing the controls to make it all happen, and all orchestrated by Dakota Sawyer, our MC, wearing a tux and everything.
So we're going to hear from ranges of speakers today, and we're going to have a great time. This is a 5-hour long telethon for you to enjoy.
5 hours is a long time.
Yeah. I told each of our speakers, I need you on for 30 minutes. And they said, and they basically said, well, I don't know if I can go for that long.
So we will be Representative Steve Hambley will be speaking right at this time.
A pleasure to be here, as Dakota has indicated.
Representative Hambley went 37 minutes, an absolute champ.
I would at this point in time, like to present a check to you from my wife and I for the fund, $100 to go towards the memorial.
Thank you, Representative Hambley.
Thank you.
I mean, you must have never done anything like this before.
Yeah, it's something that I've never done before. It's something that I had to do a lot of work put into, get speakers, get, people to man the phones.
I would like to go to our volunteers to see who are answering your phone calls. We have my father, Ryan Sawyer, who served 25 years on the Brunswick Fire Department and the Brunswick Hills Fire Department. And we have his fiancée, April, who is also answering your phone calls.
Dakota is doing all of this in December of 2020, hopefully giving them just enough time to raise the $200,000 and build a memorial for the Big 2-0.
Now, I am only 16 years old and a junior at Brunswick High School, so you may ask, why am I organizing this? Why am I doing this?
And that is my question. For real. Why? I mean, I love the ambition. It is certainly an honest cause, but still. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out, why you're so interested in it. It happened before you were born. It's been almost 20 years. Why?
I was really interested in this because, we've seen this with the Holocaust. You're not supposed to forget something like that. And, we've seen YouTube videos of people going on the street and asking kids, what was the Holocaust, and they can't even explain it to you. That's what I'm worried about. 50 years, 100 years down the road, we're not seeing YouTube videos of kids not knowing what 9/11 was. That's our slogan here at the 9/11 Never Forget Committee is never forget. And that's in our name, never forget. And so that's what we're trying to do 20 years later is to make sure no one ever forgets. This took 3,000 lives on 9/11, 3,000 lives in one day. That's something that we have to keep remembering or, we're all going to forget it.
We have to keep remembering or we're all going to forget it. Is that not a strange way to phrase that? That is not a criticism of Dakota. I am a Dakota Sawyer fan. I am pro Dakota. But once you key into the linguistic tongue twisters around never forgetting and 9/11, you hear it everywhere.
It's been 15 years, and their memories, or that day, will never be forgotten.
Like this commercial from a few years ago for the 15th anniversary.
The Never Forget coin collection by Symbol Arts commemorates the...
It is 3 9/11 commemorative coins, if you're into that sort of thing, which I am not.
Each also bears the words, "It's been 15 years. Their memories will never be forgotten," along with banner ribbons encouraging the holder to never forget September 11th, 2001.
But it is this line that makes me do a double take.
As we seek to never forget, we must always remember.
Huh, what? Here it is again.
As we seek to never forget, we must always remember. And each...
What is this guy actually trying to say? I'm not trying to be a dick here. This is sincere. There is something about never forget, about the circular logic of it, that makes me uneasy, and I suspect that I'm not the only one. There are 1,244 official 9/11 memorials registered with the mothership at Ground Zero in New York. There are 9/11 walks of remembrance. There are 9/11 resiliency plazas. There are When Terror Strikes memorial murals. For the anniversary this year, there are walks, there are runs, there are stair climbs. 11 firefighters are biking from LA to New York. Teddy bears are being collected. Never forget quilts are being displayed, if you're into that sort of thing, which I am actually. One former flight attendant is pushing an airplane drinks cart by himself from Boston to Manhattan. All this focus on the act of never forgetting, but so little emphasis on the what and the why. What is it exactly about 9/11 that we are holding on to? And why is it so important that we remember it? And don't say "so we never forget" or I will lose my mind.
I'm 43 years old. 9/11 is my JFK. Everybody knows where they were that moment.
Cody Cross has spent much of the last year hopping around the country with a traveling 9/11 exhibit. It is a scale model replica of the World Trade Center that they haul from city to city in Cody's 18-wheeler. The entire truck is wrapped in memorial graphics, the Twin Towers, waving flags, and phrases like "honor our fallen heroes."
I've literally had people honking their horn and giving us thumbs up and saluting us, and I've had people flying us the bird.
The exhibit raises money for first responder groups, firefighters, police. 343 firefighters died in New York that day. For Cody, that is what he wants us to never forget. And yet, for me, there's this nagging feeling that there is more to it in memorializing in this way, even if it's not being said explicitly.
It's the younger generation that we have to educate.
What is the educate? What are you teaching people?
So number one, make sure that the young adults that are being educated about 9/11 are getting the accurate information, not a spin on it, right? We need to make sure that when we're talking about history, that politics isn't tainting it.
Now, anytime someone tells you to keep politics out of something, by the way, it means they are about to not do that. But just grit your teeth or hold your applause for like a second, because there's something on the other side of what he's about to say that I think is worth zooming in on.
People want to take down statues that represent the Confederacy or whatever. Me personally, and it's a personal opinion, I think that's wrong.
Hang on. We're getting to it.
Are there racist people out there? Absolutely. But is it something in our society today that is prevalent and overwhelming? No. Not like it was, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Steady.
We are far beyond that. Quit talking about it. Let it go. It's just become an easy crutch.
My question is, I wonder, what is it about 9/11 that makes you want to remember? And what is it about racism that makes you want to forget? You know what I mean?
That is an interesting contrast.
It just sort of jumped out at me. And this is the part. It's this sentiment that I think is worth interrogating.
Honestly, I think those can both be answered together. Because if you look at the national response post 9/11, the day after, the weeks after, the months after, racism wasn't an issue. It wasn't a topic. It wasn't a concern. At that time, we were all Americans. It didn't matter because we were focused on what was important. We were focused on our society as a whole.
That right there. Racism, of course, was still an issue. Of course, it was still a concern. But that comment really makes clear the logic that you hear all the time around Never Forget, just with less extreme examples. Pick any American sin. On 9/11, it just wasn't an issue anymore. Not a concern. We were reminded of what was really important.
And each one of these meticulously crafted commemorative coins,
even coin commercial guy,
stirring reminder of a day that broke our hearts, yet unified the soul of our nation.
A day when any problem that didn't rise to the level of exploding skyscrapers, well, it just wasn't really a problem anymore. I think the appeal of Never Forget is that it actually means forget. Forget everything that isn't our victimhood at that moment. It's absolution. And it works forward in time as well as backward. There was an undeniable humanity to that day. I remember that feeling. I think most of us do. But it was just a feeling. And trying to resurrect one day's feeling in isolation isn't really a memorial. It's nostalgia. Not just a wish for something that barely existed in the first place, but a denial of what currently is. Let me put this a different way. Remember Sissy Spacek in the movie Carrie? 1976, Brian De Palma. Remember how beautiful she looked at the prom? How surprised she was when they called her name Carrie White. She's the prom queen. And she walked up on stage in that champagne pink dress that she had made herself, and everyone's applauding, and how radiant she was as they placed that crown on her head. So much possibility. And sure, you could have framed a picture of Carrie in that moment and put that on the mantle. And whenever your thoughts drift back to that day, you could just focus on that, without dwelling on the bucket of pig's blood that was dropped on her head in the next. Or how she then murdered everyone in that high school gym before she and her entire house got literally sucked into a hole in the earth straight to hell. But what is the point in that? How do you honor a moment in a way that also tells the truth to the next generation that is watching and listening and gleaning their own takeaway? How do we remember well?
And we are back on the Brunswick 9/11 Telethon.
Meanwhile, the Brunswick, Ohio 9/11 Never Forget Committee fundraising telethon continues.
It is currently around 6 o'clock, so we have 3 more hours left to go for this telethon. So we're back over here at the whiteboard to kind of go over our goal. Our goal is $200,000. We've raised $700 of that goal. We need $199,300. Donate now. Whatever you donate today will go directly towards...
The whiteboard just falls off the wall and out of frame.
Directly towards the 9/11 memorial. We'll be back right after these messages.
SimpliSafe just launched their new wireless outdoor security camera. SimpliSafe, the system that U.S. News & World Report names Best Home Security System of 2021, just got even better. It's wireless, so it can install anywhere, extending SimpliSafe's perimeter of defense from your windows and doors to the far corners of your property. This brand new outdoor security camera is engineered with all the advanced tech to help keep you and your family safe. It's got ultra-wide 140-degree field of view so you can keep watch over your entire yard. And it has 1080p HD resolution with an 8x zoom. That means you can zoom in and clearly see things like faces and license plates. We actually just got ours from SimpliSafe in the mail. It all comes in one box, it's high-tech, and they explain it all. To learn more about the new SimpliSafe wireless outdoor security camera, visit simplisafe.com/912. SimpliSafe is offering 20% off your entire new system and your first month of monitoring service free when you enroll in interactive monitoring. Again, that's simplisafe.com/NINETWELVE. It is never a bad time to find ways to bundle your home and auto insurance and save on coverage with Policy Genius. Are your home and auto policies almost up for renewal? Let Policy Genius look for a lower rate for you. Policy Genius makes it easy to compare home and auto insurance in one place. They have saved customers an average of $1,250 per year over what they were paying for home and auto insurance. They saved new customers an average of $435 per year on auto insurance and an average of $350 per year on home insurance. And their team will handle the paperwork to set up your new policy or switch over your current one. Getting started is easy. First, head to policygenius.com and answer a few questions about yourself and your property. Then Policy Genius takes it from there. And the Policy Genius team can look for ways to save you more, including bundling your home and auto policies. And if they find a better rate than what you're paying now, they'll switch you over for free. Head to policygenius.com to get started right now. Policy Genius, when it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right. Badlands is an anthology podcast series that blends hardcore history and true crime with transgressive stories from the worlds of celebrities, sports, and beyond. Their newest season is Sportsland, and it focuses on the true crimes and scandalous careers of some of the biggest stars in sports history. Stick around to the end of this episode to hear a brief preview of Badlands Sportsland. On the 6-month anniversary of the attacks, in March of 2002, a new 9/11 memorial popped up. You might even consider it the first. It was in downtown Manhattan, where cleanup was still going on, where human remains were still being recovered, even then. 88 7,000-watt xenon spotlights were arranged into 2 squares, creating 2 enormous shafts of light that shot straight up for 4 miles until they faded away, or disappeared into the cloud cover, so it felt like they might go on forever. It was supposed to be a one-off, a temporary tribute, but they did it again on the 2-year anniversary, and the 3rd, and then the 4th. It looked like it might end after 2008 when they ran out of money, or 2011, more money problems. But every year it seems to come back. If I have a favorite memorial of that day, it is this. There's no ceremony, there's no epitaph. It doesn't steer your thinking, it asks for nothing. I don't know anyone who even waits for it, really. Every year it just kind of sneaks up on you. You surface from the subway, or you turn a corner and there it is. And it takes your breath away. And just for a moment, it's just you and that day again. And you put your head down and you keep walking with the memories. But then, those damn birds again. Not pigeons this time, like in Tokyo in '64. This time it is migratory birds, songbirds mostly. Ornithologists realized that migrating birds on their way to wherever they go for the winter were being pulled off course, drawn to the columns of light, like moths. Disoriented and confused, they would just fly in circles, or actually drop out of the sky from exhaustion. Kind of harsh as the mellow. But there's a fix. The researchers discovered that if they turn off the lights just for a few minutes and then turn them back on, the birds would snap out of it and be on their way. They had found that there was a way to keep the balance, to keep the remembrance of what happened then from interrupting the natural work of now.
All right, we are back to the 9/11 Telethon. We're sorry about our whiteboard here, but I'd like to update you about our auction. We have a current bid for the Thomas Jefferson collection.
I gotta say, for someone who has never done a live telethon before, Dakota Sawyer is pretty great at this. He's got items to auction off. He has got special guests rotating in and out. He's got energy drinks.
We have been at this for 4.5 hours. It has been a long night.
Although in the final stretch, he did start to get a little grim.
It has rained. It has been cold. It's winter. It's December. It has been a long day. So I thank you all for tuning in on this rainy and cold day.
The funny thing about Dakota, though, he's doing this to memorialize a memory that isn't his. He is never forgetting by proxy. For a teenager, 9/11 is the fluoride in the water supply. As far as they're concerned, it has always been there. They just take the previous generation's word for it as to why, and drink up. What do the kids at high school know about 9/11? Like, how do they talk about it?
Not quite sure.
So they don't teach about 9/11 in high school right now?
They do on 9/11, but it's not part of the curriculum, as far as I'm aware.
Ohio standards actually do recommend it as part of the curriculum, but it's not required. And Dakota says that at least in his experience, they don't cover much of anything that happened afterward.
Like even American history, which I took last year, only goes up to the 90s. They stop it at the year 2000, and that's it.
So before the telethon, Dakota did his own research about that day and what happened since. When you started doing your research about 9/11, how did it make you feel? But also, I guess, what surprised you about it?
I looked into some of that post 9/11, the Iraq War, and it really disturbed me. And that's something that we're starting to realize today, that the Iraq War, wasn't really a good thing. We were all up in arms after 9/11, after the fact, but, some of the decisions that we had taken, might have seen as an abuse of 9/11, basically say, we're justified because we came under attack. And there was a major scandal with the Defense Department after 9/11 that really, really ticked me off. It was the Iraq prison scandal.
He's talking about Abu Ghraib. Not just news reports, but images of Americans torturing prisoners.
And you could watch TV shows like Law and Order did an episode on it, about the prisons in there and about the photos and how they were treated. And that really disturbed me.
Put personal memory and personal grief aside for a moment. How do we collectively memorialize that day without ignoring what that day set in motion? No matter how huge that moment was for us, how violent that scribbled spike was on our Richter scale, as the line of history continues to get drawn and gets longer, as the camera pulls out, encompassing more and more of time, that spike is going to shrink and get smaller until it's just a bump, barely a blip. 100 years from now, I suspect that 9/11, the day, will warrant just a few words, followed by a comma, followed by an event that sparked the war on terror, an unjust invasion and occupation of one country, protracted war, and then defeat in another, hundreds of thousands of dead, including over 8,000 Americans, an event that would mark the beginning of the end of the American century. What are we setting Dakota Sawyer up for down the road here? Will he feel pride at the memorials he helped build? Or will his neighbors one day gather in a big crowd and tear them down in favor of a different narrative? Or maybe he'll be in that crowd as well. Maybe he'll be screaming the loudest.
I'd like to thank St. Ambrose Catholic Parish for allowing us to use their gymnasium.
In the end, Dakota made it through that 5-hour telethon, even if he didn't hit his fundraising goals. And despite what he learned about post-9/11 America, he still wants that memorial.
You could still be patriotic to America, but criticize some of the decisions that it does make. That's why we live in a republic.
Oof, that optimism. I will take a pound of that sliced thin. It gives me tentative hope. I mean, anyone with the swag to attempt a 5-hour telethon on his own is bound to pull some pretty wonderful rabbits out of any of the hats he chooses to wear in the future. Maybe that hope is my own burst of patriotic optimism. Maybe.
Again, we thank you all for watching this telethon, and it has been a huge success with over $700 raised. I have been surviving for the last 5 hours on...
And then the video just cuts out. In 1948, Barry Berenson was born in Murray Hill, Manhattan, the newest branch on a pretty fantastic family tree. Her grandmother was the fashion designer Elsa Schiaparelli, her grandfather a renowned psychic, her mother a socialite who went by the name Go-Go. Barry herself grew up doing a little bit of acting and then had a career as a successful photographer. In 1973, she married Anthony Perkins. He played Norman Bates in Hitchcock's Psycho, and they had 2 kids, Oz and Elvis. Barry and Anthony Perkins were married for 19 years, until Anthony Perkins died of complications from the AIDS virus on 9/12/1992. In 2001, Barry Berenson Perkins was returning from Cape Cod to her home in Los Angeles on American Airlines Flight 11. She was one of the 92 on board that Tuesday when the plane was flown into the 93rd through 99th floors of the North Tower. It killed everyone in the plane and every single person in the building above the impact zone, including my friend Cesar Augusto Murillo. He was 32. Elvis is the younger son who survived Barry Berenson Perkins. Elvis Perkins is now 45 and lives in Hudson, New York, about 2 hours upriver from the city.
How are you?
Yes. Hi.
It's where my producer Courtney and I have just pulled up.
Meet you guys.
Elvis is a singer-songwriter, and we're meeting him at an old abandoned factory by the river.
This is where we will be.
Amazing.
They used to manufacture train wheels here, but now it's a performance space they call the Basilica.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And rightfully so. It is massive, with 40-foot ceilings and windows all the way up.
Oh, this is your studio. This is my studio, and this is the control room here.
Not much need for a music hall during a pandemic. So last August, Elvis began renting it out for himself to work in, writing and recording.
It's something to be in here in the dead of night, completely alone.
Elvis spent much of the winter here, walking the giant space like a monk in an abbey, as close to an opera house phantom as I have ever met. It was just him, and up in the rafters, birds, house wrens and swallows. They're no hassle this time, though, just watching, indifferent. He doesn't really talk much publicly about his mother or September 11th. But he has written music about his grief, a song called Ash Wednesday. And so, I have a modest proposal. I submit we had it wrong this whole time. It's 9/12 that we should be never forgetting. 9/12 and every day after that. Memorialize how we reacted. Memorialize what it brought out in us. Etch that into granite slabs. Cast that in bronze in the middle of town square. As for 9/11, leave it to the survivors. Their grief alone is enough. Leave it to them to carry the torch for making it 20 years. Let them be the ones to climb to the top, to light the cauldron and lament.
All right, shall we?
Yeah. "9/12" was produced by Courtney Harrell. Our associate producer was Natalie Brennan. Our researcher was Jessica Lessenhop. Our senior producer was Henry Milofsky. Joe Lovell and Maddie Sprung-Kaiser were our editors. Production assistance and research by Maria Alexa Kavanaugh, fact-checking by Sarah Ivry. Original music by Daniel Herskadal, with Espen Berg on the piano and Jakob Jansson on drums. Engineering of the performance of Ash Wednesday you heard in this episode was by Tyler Wood. Our credits music throughout this series was What a Difference a Day Makes, performed by Dinah Washington. Music licensing by Dan Kanishkui. Our show art was by Pat Iadanza and Heike Avanyan. Thank you to Ruth Sergel, Dr. Pauline Boss, and Marita Sturkin for conversations that helped us shape this episode. Thanks also to Jessica Brockington, Shruti Murate, Katie Ali Mohammadi, Sarah Schwarzman, and Chris Perez. 912 was written and executive produced by me. I'm Dan Taberski. Jenna Weiss-Berman and Max Linsky were the executive producers at Pineapple Street. From Amazon Music, our executive producer was Morgan Jones, and Marshall Louis was the executive producer from Wondery. Thanks for listening. I'm about to play you a preview of Badlands Season 2 Sportsland. While you're listening, be sure to follow Badlands wherever you get your podcasts, or binge the full second season right now exclusively on Amazon Music.
Oscar Pistorius was the first amputee to win a non-disabled world track medal, but his claim to fame quickly went from groundbreaking athlete to murderer. Uncover more dark sports tales like the shocking murder of downhill skiing sensation Spider Savage, the complicated mythology of outfielder Ty Cobb, and why boxer Sonny Liston's ties to organized crime drew the ire of none other than the Attorney General Robert Kennedy. On the Amazon exclusive Badlands Season 2 Sportsland. I'm Jake Brennan, creator and host of the award-winning music and true crime podcast Disgraceland. Sportsland is my new show, an anthology series that blends hardcore history and true crime with transgressive stories from the world of sports. If you love true crime, sports, and Disgraceland, then you're gonna love Sportsland. Listen to Sportsland and the shocking rise and fall of sports legends every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts. Or binge the whole season now, exclusively on Amazon Music. On Amazon Music. On Amazon Music. On Amazon Music. On Amazon Music.